Chancy and the Grand Rascal by Sid Fleischman. 6. The Log Raft. With the tar and willow stick brush, Chancy set to work making a new sign. When Uncle Will read it off, he roared out laughing and offered to do all the talking. That suited Chancy fine, but he made it clear that he didn't want to sell Calamity. He sat on a stump with Calamity roosting on his shoulder and waited for a buyer to come along the river. The day passed. Finally, crickets began tuning up for the night, and gnats peppered the air. Uncle Will wound all his clocks. The flock of chicks pecked at insects. At last, there came around the upriver bend a log raft with 6 great swamp oars. Chauncey's sign on the barn door now read, "Chicken dinners, 3 cents each." 5 raftsmen in shirt sleeves and heavy boots leaned on their oars and peered through the dusk at the sign. A bull-necked man in a brown bowler hat shouted an order. To Chancy's delight, the raft was working its way toward the island. With Uncle Will to do the talking, the flock of chicks was as good as sold, he thought. Will Buckthorn looked at the men thoughtfully. "By Ginger," he said, "that raft is short-handed. It's got 6 oars and 5 men. How would it suit you if we hitched ourselves a ride on that raft? We'd be money ahead." Chancy had been looking forward to a steamboat ride. He looked at the raft floating like a carpet of logs on the river. A small shanty with a pitched roof stood in the center. There was a cook stove with a tall black chimney pipe and a laundry hanging out to dry on a sagging line. "We can see the sights just as well from a raft as a steamboat, I expect. Or we can see the sights as well from a raft as well as a steamboat, I expect." "Yes, sir, Uncle Will. That would be first rate." Soon the raft came creaking alongside, and a raftsman with hairy arms heaved a stout line ashore. Uncle Will caught it and made it fast to a stump. The bull-necked man leaped ashore. He had short legs and a beard like a full pitchfork of hay. He wore a faded red shirt and a wide leather belt. "Bring on the grub," he roared. "I'm Captain Joe Harp, the bulliest raft pilot in sight, and we're the hog hungriest. Howdy, strangers. Hoo-la-ha! Bring on them 3-cent chicken dinners. Me and my boys will take 6 each." Will Buckthorn hooked a thumb in the pocket of his vest. "You're a mite early, Captain. Reckon you won't mind waiting to be served." "You reckon wrong. My mouth is a water. Don't even bother plucking the birds. Fry 'em up. We'll eat 'em feathers and all." "Now, we'd like to oblige you, Captain, but the grub just ain't ready." "We'll get a move on, man. How long will it take?" 4 weeks the soonest, and that's rushed things." The raft pilot's great shaggy eyebrows shot aloft. 4 weeks? Stop your fooling and rustle us up the eats. And about a bushel of corn fritters on the side." The contest of wits was beginning. Chancy listened and watched, his gaze shifting from one speaker to the other. By dogs, it was adventuresome having Uncle Will along, he thought. "Captain," Will Buckthorn said, shoving back his hat, "our chicken dinners have hardly got their pin feathers yet. You can see 'em scratched around in the dirt." Captain Harp spied the chicks and exploded. "Confound and doggone it. Boys, it's beans and spuds for supper again tonight. Cast off." "Hold on," said Uncle Will. "What's wrong with eating your chicken dinners next month?" "I'll be kicked by a cow, you simple-minded land trotter. By the time you fry chicken around here, we'll be down the Mississippi. And still eating beans and spuds, unless you'd like to buy these chicken dinners on the hoof, so to speak, and fatten 'em up. Take 'em aboard, sir. There's plenty of room on that raft. Why, Captain, think of the mouth-watering banquet you'll have underfoot." The raft pilot gave his bowler a hard tap. "Flapdoodle, sir. We got no time to tend poultry. Boys, let's move." "Hold on," said Uncle Will, hooking both thumbs in his vest. "We'll sell you these chicken dinners, with the feathers on, 3 cents each, and my young nephew, standing there, Chancy B. Dundee by name, will tend them for you part way and free of charge if he's willing." "I'm willing," Chancy said quickly. His 25 chicks, not counting Calamity, would bring 75 cents and free passage down the river. Captain Harp shut one eye and looked at Chancy and looked Chancy over with the other, and then his gaze returned to Uncle Will. Stranger, what brand of kin are you to let a young'un loose on the river? He'll likely fall overboard. By eternal, you're right, Captain, but we do want to oblige you. It appears to me I'd better go along to tend my nephew. Captain Harp's cheeks swelled up through his beard. No, sir. We don't take passengers. They're worse than having chickens underfoot. Boys, cast off. See here, said Uncle Will. I might be persuaded to buck an oar for you, being that you're short-handed, at least as far as Paducah. We'll want to get off there. The raft pilot stared at Uncle Will as if he were a madman and then burst into a laugh. Ha, 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 ha. Stranger, 10 minutes at one of these sweeps and you'll think your back is broken 6 places. Any one of my boys is strong enough to derail a train just squinting at it. They kind of look weak and sickly to me, said Uncle Will. Weak? Sickly? Captain Harp gave a huge snort and called over his shoulder, Billy Arkansas, come here and heft this rock. A hulking raftsman with arms like swamp oaks stepped ashore. With a grin, he reached his large hands around a boulder near the water's edge. He heaved it to his chest with hardly a grunt, and then straight up over his head. Shucks, he said, setting it gently back on the ground. This little old rock don't amount to a thing. Cap couldn't weigh more than 250 pounds. Captain Harp turned to Uncle Will. Hear that? He laughed. Light as a goose feather, that rock. Let's see you raise it over your head, mister. Uncle Will lit the stub of a cigar he'd been saving. Taking his time, he studied the boulder. Then he bent and tried to lift it. His face went red. The rock wouldn't leave the ground. Chancy looked on with dismay. What was wrong? Any other time, Uncle Will could have pitched that rock clear across the river. Why, he could pull a wagon with his teeth. Uncle Will straightened. Do you mind lifting it again, Mr. Arkansas? I declare it looks impossible. Shucks, sir, said the raftsman. Back home, I used to load my slingshot with bigger stones than this. And once again, he lifted the rock to his great chest and then up over his head. Hoo-ha! How's that for weak and sickly? Captain Harp roared. Uncle Will slipped Chancy a wink. Then he walked slowly around the raftsman, studying the man, puffing his cigar and taking his time. He carefully removed his slouch hat and handed it to Chancy. Then, planting his legs, he ducked his head. In the next instant, Chancy was astonished to see Billy Arkansas rise in the air. Uncle Will had hoisted him on his shoulders, stone and all. The combined weight was so great that Uncle Will's teeth chomped his cigar in two. Glory be, said Captain Harp, his eyes snapping in awe. By dogs, Chancy whispered, with a rush of pride. Uncle Will could have lifted that rock all along. He had only been fooling. Stranger, put down that weak and sickly raftsman of mine, said Captain Harp. Boys, we'll tie up to this island for the night. Hoo-ha! Welcome aboard, sir. You and the boy and the chicken stay as long as you like. And that's the end of Chapter 6.